Hello, 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 hello. It is day... Oh, I've got chocolate on there or something. It is day 71 of reading the Bible in a year. Can't believe I've got this far so far. And I am reading chapters 7 and 8 of Judges. Microphone's bothering me a little bit there. And my lamp has turned off, so I've just got the light from the ceiling there. And all the other ceiling lights as well. Right, let's start reading. Gideon's valiant 300. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early and encamped beside the well of Harod, so that the camp of the Midianites was on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, "The people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, 'My own hand has saved me.' Now, therefore, proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, 'Whoever is fearful and afraid, let him turn and depart at once from Mount Gilead.' And 22,000 of the people returned, and 10,000 remained. But the Lord said to Gideon, 'The people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. Then it will be that whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, the same shall go with you. And whomever I say to you, this one shall not go with you, the same shall not go.' So he brought the people down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, 'Everyone who laps the water with his tongue, as a dog laps, you shall set it apart by himself. Likewise, everyone who gets down on his knees to drink.' And the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people got down on their knees to drink the water." I don't get it. Like, that bit of the story was from Sunday school and growing up, that God chose the people who would scoop the water up in their hands and go scoop, and the people who didn't do that, the people who went down and drank the water straight from the river without using their hand or anything else to bring it up to their mouth, were the ones that were were not chosen to be go to war. So, yeah. And the number of people of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people got down on their knees to drink the water. Then the Lord said to Gideon, "By 300 men who lapped, I will save you and deliver the Midianites into your hand. Let all the other people go, every man to his place." So the people took provisions and their trumpets in their hands, and he sent away all the rest of Israel, every man to his tent, and retained those 300 men. Now the camp of Midian was below him in the valley. It happened on the same night that the Lord said to him, Arise, go down against the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down to the camp with Purah your servant, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward your hands shall be strengthened to go down against the camp." Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outpost of the armed men who were in the camp. Now the Midianites and the Amalekites, all the people of the east, were lying in the valley as numerous as locusts, and their camels were without number, as the sand by the seashore in multitude. When Gideon had come, there was a man telling his dream to his companion. He said, "I have had a dream. To my surprise, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian. It came to a tent and struck it, so that it fell over and overturned, and the tent collapsed." Then his companion answered and said, "This is nothing else but the sword of Gideon the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and the whole camp." And so it was, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, that he worshipped. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, "Arise, for the Lord has delivered the camp of Midian into your hand." Then he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet into every man's hand, with empty pitchers and torches inside the pitchers. And he said to them, "Look at me and do likewise. Watch, and when I come to the edge of the camp, you shall do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then you also shall blow the trumpets on every side of the whole camp, and say, 'The sword of the Lord, and of Gideon.'" So Gideon and the 300 men who were with him came out to the outpost of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just as they had posted the watch. And they blew their trumpets and broke the pitchers that were in the hands. Then the 3 companies blew their trumpets and broke the pitchers, and they held the torches in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands. And they cried, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon." The sword of the Lord. And every man stood in his place all around the camp, and the whole army ran and cried out and fled. When the 300s blew the trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his companion throughout the whole camp, and the whole army fled to Beth Acacia, towards Zererah, as far as the border of Abel Meholah by Tabath. And the men of Israel gathered together from Naphtali, Asher, and all Manasseh, and pursued the Midianites. Then Gideon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and seize from them the watering places as far as Beth-barah and the Jordan." Then all the men of Ephraim gathered together and seized the watering places as far as Beth-barah and the Jordan. And they captured 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb. What names! They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeb they killed at the winepress of Zeb. They pursued Midian and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. Yes, it is late and I am tired. I need to get to bed. Gideon subdues the Midianites. Now the men of Ephraim said to him, "Why have you done this to us, and by not calling us, when you went to fight with the Midianites?" And they reprimanded him sharply. Then he said to them, "What have I done now in comparison with you? Is it not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God has delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeb. And what was I able to do in comparison with you?" Then their anger toward him subsided when he said that. When Gideon came to the Jordan, he and the 300 men who were with him crossed over, exhausted, but still in pursuit. Then he said to the men of Succoth, "Please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are exhausted, and I am pursuing Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian." And the leaders of Succoth said, "Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your army?" So Gideon said, "For this cause, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars." Then he went up from there to Penuel and spoke to them in the same way, and the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered. And he also spoke to the men of Penuel, saying, "When I come back in this place, I will tear down this tower." Now Zebah and Zalmunna were at Karkor, and their armies were with them, about 15,000, all who were left of all the army of the people of the east, for 120,000 men who drew their sword had fallen. Oh my word. Then Gideon went up by the road of those who dwelt in the tents of the east, of Nobah and Jogbehah, and he attacked the army while the camp was felt secure. When Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued them, and he took the 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and routed the whole army. Then Gideon, the son of Joash, returned from battle from the ascent of Heres. Then he caught a young man of the men of Succoth and interrogated him, and he wrote down for him the leaders of Succoth and its elders, 77 men. Then he came to the men of Succoth and said, "Here are Zebah and Zalmunna." I'm yawning a lot. "Here are Zebah and Zalmunna, about whom you ridiculed me, saying, 'Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hands, that we should give you bread of weary men?' And then he took the elders of the city and thorns of the wilderness and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. I think he did to them what they said that they were going to do to him. Yay. Then he tore down the tower of Penuel and killed the men of the city. Then he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, 'What kind of men were they whom you killed at Tabor?' So they answered, 'As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the son of a king.' Then he said, 'They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As the Lord lives, if you had let them live, I would not kill you.' And he said to Jether, his firstborn, 'Rise, kill them.' The youth would not draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was still a youth. Then why was he even there? So Zebah and Zalmunna said, 'Rise yourself and kill us, for as a man is, so is his strength.' So Gideon arose and killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and took the crescent ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Gideon's ephod. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, 'Rule over us, both you and your son and your grandson also, for you have delivered us from the hand of Midian.' But Gideon said to them, 'I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you.' Then Gideon said to them, I would like to make a request of you, that each of you give me the earrings from his plunder.' For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. So they answered, We will gladly give them. And they spread out a garment, and each man threw into it the earrings from his plunder. Now the weight of the gold earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, besides the crescent ornaments, pendants, and purple robes which were on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were around the camels' necks. Then Gideon made it into an ephod and set it up on his city. Ophrah and all Israel played the harlot with it there. Oh no. It became a snare to Gideon and his house. Thus Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted their heads no more. And the country was quiet for 40 years in the days of Gideon. The death of Gideon. Then Jerubbaal, the son of Joash, that is Gideon, dwelt in his own house. Gideon had 70 sons. Wow! Who were his own offspring, for he had many wives. And his concubine, who was in Shechem, also bore him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. Oh my word. Now Gideon, the son of Joash, died at a good old age, and was buried in the tomb of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abezrites. So it was, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel again played the harlot with the Baals, and made Baal Berith their god. Why? Thus the children of Israel did not remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them from the hands of all their enemies on every side. Nor did they show any kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, Gideon, in accordance with the good that he had done for Israel. Oh my word. Why? 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 Just why? Why are the Israelites so stupid? They've got all these fantastic stories from just a couple of generations before them. More than a few generations before them. And yet they're still not following the rules. I mean, they keep on being a flip-floppy type of people. I'm a bit like that. Yeah. Because I've flip-flopped in and out of church a lot. I grew up in the church, and I went to Sunday school, started going to the main meetings when I was too old for Sunday school, but they didn't always have a youth thing. There was a youth thing up to the age of 16, I think. But I left the church when I was 15. And I did pray for God to bring me back when it was my time to. Trouble is, I keep leaving and then going back and then leaving again. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm making... Well, I'm trying to make more effort this time. Yeah. I will leave it there for this reading of day 71. And I've got Luke chapter 22 to read next.